Morning. So, I think you've all figured out I don't really care what I look like at the wee hours of the morning when I'm doing this kind of stuff. But that's usually when I do most of my thinking. So, this is when you get the honor of looking at me. Um, the other day, I had somebody mention wanting to slow down. You know, maybe they feel a little overwhelmed and they need to slow down. They didn't go into any detail. They just said they needed to just kind of slow themselves down a little bit. And I know they meant like their mind, not physically slow down. I don't think they're in a hurry for anything. They meant like, how do I slow my mind down? Too much is going on. I feel overwhelmed. I'm adding my own words to it, but that's what I think it meant. Um, and I have a few things that I do, and one of the things that I shared with her is I'm outside at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the air is way different at 3 o'clock in the morning than it is at 9 o'clock in the morning. The air is cleaner, it's purer, it's more filtered than it is at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'm gonna say the reason for it is from watching ponds. Okay, so like at 6 o'clock in the morning, I can get amazing reflection pictures off of my pond or off of anybody's pond. But at 8:30, 9 o'clock, no. Why? Because now everything in the water is waking up. Everything in the water, all the little critters in the water, the bugs, the fish, the frogs, the turtles, all of those things are now moving around. And they're stirring up the water. Now, I equate that with maybe letting a bowl, you ate a bowl of ice cream last night, and you just, instead of washing it or putting it in the dishwasher, you just put it in the sink and flipped the faucet on and filled it with water and left it. And then, life happens and you forgot about it the next day. Life happens, you forgot about it the next day. Let's just say people do that. I'm guilty. And so let's just say 3 days later, you go, oh shit, I gotta wash that. I mean, let's just say for some reason you haven't been in your kitchen, you haven't used your kitchen, your sink for any other real reason for 3 days, and you go, or let's just say you've collected dishes, like it doesn't matter why that bowl is still in the sink. Okay, I'm going to go into all these scenarios as to why that bowl is still in the sink. Let's just say the bowl is still in the sink. Before you go to wash it, let's just say the spoon's still in there too, and you take the spoon and you give a little swirl, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, like a smell arises from that bowl that you didn't smell until you stirred the water. So I kind of go with that thought process that the air right now, because all of the life in the water is sleeping, the air right now is cleaner. It's fresher. It doesn't smell like so many things, right? Because once all these bodies of water wake up, that's got to do something to the quality of the air. Not only quality of the air, but just the aroma in the air, right? So I take an opportunity then to enjoy how crisp the air is. And I take an opportunity then to smell the air for what it is at that moment, right? Take in the quality of air. And to me, that's enjoyable. Like one of the senses I use a lot when I'm trying to center myself, to ground myself. One of my most important senses that I use is smell. Like if I was to pull over, like say I'm driving and I wanted to pull over in the best and create an immediate best frame of mind, like an immediate good frame of mind, I would pull over near a house that's burning a fireplace, or that has one of those wood burning units, that heats their house. That's when I would pull over. I'd pull over for that. And then I would sit there and I would close my eyes. I would roll down my window. Even if it was cold, I'd crack my window, whatever. And I would just sit there and take in that aroma. So I understand aromatherapy. I just don't think, because I get migraines from so many different scents, that I don't think for me aromatherapy is very valuable. Like lavender, I'll get a migraine from lavender. So even though lavender is supposed to be calming, it's supposed to be like one of the better ones to use if you're trying to calm yourself. Lavender is not good for me. So I don't do any of those kind of oils or scents. But I'll use natural scents. Like horses at a certain time of year have a natural scent that's just awesome. And let's see. Feel, for example, like if you can walk 50 feet and know for sure you're not going to run into anything or trip on anything, using your sense of feel, sense of touch for like walking across my field, for example. Like some days walking across my field has been hard because the ground's been frozen. Some days that I've been walking across my field, the ground has been squishy and soft and almost like you have to be careful where you step because you may fall into a squishy rut from a horse that was there, last hour or yesterday. Let's see. So, I mean, basically, how I quiet my mind, like people quiet their minds different ways. A lot of times people try to focus on a certain sound. I prefer the sound of nature. I prefer the sound of like the wind. I tried to do a video while I was outside and it was too windy. But one of the things that I did was explain, like, listen, and you could hear where the wind was, and like listening to the wind as if you're listening to waves is actually pretty fun. So you can hear where the wind was. The wind was in my pine trees, and then it was in the smaller trees. You could hear the leaves and the branches moving in smaller trees, and then kind of like counting down, when thunder to lightning, you can wait for the wind to hit you. So that's a hearing sense and a feeling sense, right? I'm hearing it, and then I'm anticipating feeling it. So I'm living in the moment, right? I'm totally living in the moment while I'm enjoying the wind. I have a lot of frogs that are out this morning because it's 64 degrees this morning, and the frogs, February 10th, and the frogs are a little confused, right? So they're taking advantage of. I say they're confused, maybe no, maybe they know they shouldn't be out yet, but they're like, well, shoot, it's warm. Like, why wouldn't we get out there and have a bug? Because I've also been noticing the bugs on these couple warmer days, so they're also out. So the frogs are like, well, let's go get us a meal. So this morning I got a chance to enjoy the frogs, and I would have even done a video so you could hear the frogs, but like I said, the wind was too strong. So the wind would have changed your ability to hear, and I would have been frustrated, so I didn't do that. Like, I try not to set myself up to be frustrated, right? Sight is one of the senses I don't mind eliminating from myself. At night when I'm walking through the fields, if I think I see something in my field that needs my attention, like if I see, sometimes my fox is out there with me, so if I see her and I'm not 100% sure I've seen her, like I'm not 100% sure that's what I'm looking at, or if it's just a pile of hay that didn't get consumed the day before, which is really unlikely. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but your peripheral vision is better vision in the dark than your straight on vision is, whatever that's called. If I'm trying to see what something is in the dark, I actually look to the left or to the right of it, and then I can see it. If I try to stare straight on, it almost goes black. I'm not sure if that happens for everybody. I'm not sure if, like, I am part prey animal and I do have good peripheral vision, better than most. I'm not, but I'm saying I don't know if people know or have ever experienced that, where your peripheral vision is almost better for you than your dead on vision in the night light. Anybody's ever experienced that or knows that? And if not, try it. Go outside knowing that you can barely see something in the dark, and then try to see it straight on, and then try to see it looking off to the left or the right of it, and see if you see it better. It's just interesting. It's like not telling me that there's something that there's no value to it. I just think it's interesting. Okay. I really don't have a whole lot on that subject, but I do. That's how I quiet my mind. I don't quiet my mind by trying to listen to the motor of an air conditioner or something like that. And I feel if you do that, like if that's like a technique that you've been taught or learned through listening to somebody's teachings or something, and you find it very difficult, if it's something you set out to do that you know is going to be hard for you, well, that's all you're focusing on is how hard it's going to be. Well, that's not going to accomplish what you're looking to accomplish. You're not going to quiet your mind. You're going to actually ruffle your mind, right? You're going to agitate yourself. You're not going to quiet your mind in any way. So think of things that quiet your mind. Think of things that bring you pleasure. Like I said, pull over on the side of the road next to a house. Maybe not so much next to a house. Don't try to get a suspicion of stalking. But if you pull over near a house that has a fireplace burning, and just enjoy the smell of the fireplace for a minute. Or somebody that's doing like an open burn, and you're smelling like the wood or whatever. Somebody's, I wouldn't say burning garbage, but somebody's burning something. You can just sit and smell the burn. Close your eyes and just smell the burn. I always said I wish it was practical to create candles that smell like a fireplace, but truthfully, like I think that would be dangerous, because you'd train your brain to not be alerted to the smell of something burning. So I don't know that there could ever be a fireplace candle, but it sure be a cool candle to have. So anyway, sure. How do I quiet my mind? How do I slow myself down? I do it by really, really, really hyper-focusing certain senses. And I like to do it when I know the world isn't moving yet. Because I think the more the world's moving, especially if you go with even sound is different. Like I hear these trucks outside. And we have a lot of the chicken haulers and grain haulers here. And, there's a lot of truck traffic on my road. So they make a lot of noise going by. But even them, it's just them for the most part. There's not a whole lot of other car traffic. So I listen to the different sounds of the trucks. I listen to the different, tire treads. That sounds weird, but you can actually, determine kind of how a truck is maintained through the way it rattles or whatever as it goes by. Like that's the stuff that I think about. All right. Well, I don't want to do a long video of repetitive statements here, so I'm going to turn this off before I do too long of a video for no reason.